I'm Stephen and I run Zany Media and I also edit for James. I've always loved cars from a young age. As soon as I learned to drive, really, I was 22, so I was quite a late learner as such. But I bought this grey Suzuki Swift with Go Faster stripes on the sides and on the fronts, and then I think a checkered roof as well. I never wanted cars that were like, you'd go past another one on the streets. That would be really demoralising. So, as you can see, you won't really see many S2000s like this, and I love that. I love individual, unique, interesting cars. My dad would deliver vehicles back and forth around the country, so he drove Aston Martins. I found out recently that my granddad, who I never knew, he was a chauffeur for the mayor up in St Helens. There was always a connection with cars. I always aspired to own something that was quite special, and I think the Honda is quite special in its own little way. My era was the McLaren F1, so I was quite interested in the technical prowess of that and the fact that it broke so many records. But then it's also a driver's car, so it's not about practicality. It's not about getting the kids to and from school. It's about delivering absolute driving performance and an experience. And again, in a little way, this is what the Honda's about. Everything's geared towards the driver in terms of all the controls there. So it does make you feel special, and that's really important in cars. I bought the Honda about 5 or 6 years ago, 2018. I always have to think about that because it was in for an engine rebuild for 2 years. So I bought it, beautiful summer in 2018, and it developed a few issues, and I knew that I needed to get it fixed. So in 2019 it went away. It took 2 years for the engine to be rebuilt. But yeah, I've been driving it ever since, and it's out today on really a cold morning, and I get as much enjoyment out of it as possible. I'd coveted S2000s for about 10 years or so. I knew that it was on my horizon. I like Japanese cars. I like cars that have interesting engines. So obviously the S2000's got the little 2-litre engine, but it'll rev to 9,000. I'd always wanted a convertible. It's the kind of British thing that as soon as the sun comes out, you've got to drop the top. It's the rules. And when this one came up for sale, I saw it. I went and test drove it, and I was like, yeah, this is great. This is lovely. This feels fantastic. And I bought it the next day and loved it ever since. It had a number of modifications, so the body kit was on it at the time. It was a Japanese import, so I'm not sure if it was installed over in Japan. I've added a few modifications, a bit of carbon fibre here and there, the hard top as well. So I put my stamp on it as such, but yeah, it's always been a bit different, and now it's just very different. The car has been up to Scotland, so we went to the Isle of Skye with it. We did 2 weeks in spring a couple of years ago. Not ideal weather, but it was a good test of the practicality of the car. So everything fitted in the boot, just. We did a little series on YouTube about it. But yeah, it had a good road trip then. It's been all around the southwest. Whenever it's summer, I just take it wherever I can. I'd love to take it to Europe as well, time permitting next year. But yeah, it comes everywhere with us. So in terms of the stuff that was on it when I bought it, it's got a ARC intake kit, which takes up most of the engine bay and doesn't really add any power. It's got yellow speed coilovers and I think yellow speed racing brakes as well, 6 pots on the front, which again, it doesn't really need because it's not all that powerful. In terms of the stuff I've done, I've added the carbon fibre bonnet and wing, the hard top, which I picked up for 600 quid, which was a relative bargain back then. It's had a full engine rebuild. It's also got working motion wheels as well, which are meant to be lightweight, but they're one of the very few that actually fit over the yellow speed brake. That's probably some of the mods, some of the most important mods. There's probably plenty more as well. It's an original JayEmm import, so as well, it's got the higher compression ratio engine, so it's got the 250 horsepower engine. Well, I first moved down to this area after university and knew that I needed to find a job that was roughly in the same sort of area that I did a degree in. And I studied graphic design at university, but I never really wanted to do any graphic design work. I started editing videos and never looked back really. I was freelancing at the time. I was then picked up by the company that I now run, which was traditionally a PR company. We did a bit of marketing on the side, but it never really amounted to much other than websites and photography. But videography now has become such a big thing, and obviously with YouTube channels and people making a business on YouTube, that the business has very much evolved towards that. So 90% of our work now is to do with video. It's myself and my partner Claire. So Claire works for the company, but is also my fiance. We're getting married in 18 months' time. And yeah, we work really well as a team. We both film, we both edit. She tends to do the longer edit, and then I do the fun bits at the end and add the magic, as we say. Well, more and more of our business is involved into YouTube stuff. So obviously we work with you, James, but we also work with producer Michael, who's quite a big channel over in the States. We also have a client out in Italy that does real estate. So it's quite varied. I mean, we're not just doing car stuff, we're doing quite a few different things as well. And of course, there's our own channel, Stephen and Claire Touge Brits, which is mostly just to keep our eye in terms of the filming and editing. We take the car with us. I've got a van as well, so we occasionally go camping in that. It's travel, it's kind of interesting little documentaries about the places that we visit. It is primarily just to keep our heads in the video game, really. We'll put a link to our website, Zany Media, in the description. So if you have any questions or you want to know a bit more about editing and filming on YouTube, then let us know.